Hi everybody and welcome to my studio. My name is Lonna. I'm an acrylic artist and I'm here to show you the project that we are going to be painting today. If you have never painted with acrylics, this is a great time to pick up a paintbrush and paint along with me. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and be sure and give me a thumbs up. It all helps me right here on YouTube. So let's take a look at what we're going to be painting today. We're going to be painting on fabric today. We're going to paint this beautiful pillow cover. Oh my gosh, you guys, this was so much fun. Fabric paints is what I used on this, and fabric paints have glitter. Look at that glitter on there. Oh my gosh. And metallic paints as well, and it's so soft. This is a DecoArt fabric paint, so soft fabrics, and when it says so soft, it is incredibly soft. So this one is going to be, I think, a pretty easy project. I like doing a wet on wet technique a lot of times when I'm painting on fabric. So that's what we're going to be doing on this one. But I wanted to show you that I have also painted it on canvas board. This is a 12 by 12 canvas board with the white background, and I did paint it with a black background too. So let's grab our paints and supplies and let's get painting this beautiful pillow cover. Alright, let's get ready to put our pattern on the surface. Now I've got one of my cotton muslin type of pillow covers. I have put a piece of mat board in there, one that I can bend and manipulate, because this is a envelope style pillow cover that fits a 16 by 16 inch pillow form, and so I need to be able to manipulate and bend that cardboard just a little bit. So I used a piece of mat board, and it's covered with Glad press and seal. All this color that you see on it is color that is actually on the mat board from me painting something else, laying something on it and painting it. So it's not on the fabric and it's not on the mat board where it will get on me, because the mat board's covered with Glad press and seal. Okay, then I took the board is wide enough for this. I think I cut it about 1/4 of an inch shorter than what the actual surface is, so it would slide down in it easily. And then it's about, I would say about 13 inches maybe tall. Oh, let's just measure it. Oh, it's only 11 inches tall. Okay, and I've only got one in here. Normally I will put 2 in there, because if I'm going to paint on the top of the pillow cover, then I will push one up to the top and tightly secure the excess fabric on the back. So this one has a little bit more fabric because I just put the one piece inside of it. So I hope that was very clear for you to understand. I have printed my line drawing off on vellum so that I can have a little bit more stable of a line drawing, instead of just using transfer paper, which is not quite as strong. So I'm moving my line drawing up about 1/2 an inch from the bottom, and I'm going to move it in about 1/2 inch from the side, and that way it will allow for the bend in the pillow if you set it up, so you'll see the entire painted area. And I'm going to tape it down with some painter's tape. I want to make sure I'm straight here. It doesn't quite look straight, so I probably didn't print it quite straight. And I'm going to tape it down so it doesn't move, okay? There are a couple of ways that you can do this. You could draw on the back with a piece of chalk and then lay it down. You could trace it on the back with a piece of chalk and lay it down, and then go over it with a stylus, and you'll have your chalk lines on there. You can trace your pattern onto vellum by putting it on a light box. It's not called a box anymore. You know what I'm talking about. It's a light pad. That's what it is, a light pad. And you know, then you can see your line drawing very easily to trace it and put it onto vellum. Okay, so I'm just going to use my regular graphite paper that I normally use for everything else. Okay, since I have a solid piece of mat board in there, this is going to be very easy to do. I'm going to want my circle template for doing my circles, but you don't need to have one in order to do them. And I'm going to transfer on all of my lines here. And this one is a little bit smaller of a circle, I think. So let's make sure that is transferring. So we're getting some lines on there. Go ahead and do this circle, and then we can just go over everything else. Okay, so now we're just going to transfer on all the other lines. I'm going to be using fabric paint. I'm not going to do that thin little line up there. I don't want it to become too thick, so I'll just worry about that when I get ready to paint it in. Okay, then all of our petals and leaves, the ones that have several lines in it, those are the leaves, and the other ones are petals. And I'm going to be painting mine in colors that will go in my home for the way that I decorate Christmas. But you paint your poinsettias and your ornaments and your candle in any color that you would like. I'm going to be using fabric paints. So I will be using a fabric medium on my areas first. And if you have a hard time seeing what lines you've drawn on here, then you can draw them on. I'm not going to put all those circles in the center because they don't matter right now. You can draw everything on with like a colored pen of some kind, and that way you can see every place that you have marked. But when you're doing it from vellum, you can see anyway because it leaves a white line on it. And I'm just going to put a line for the center of the candle. Make sure I haven't forgotten any lines. I missed some lines over here. And yeah, that's over there. Okay, let's see. That petal goes there. It's a small one on top. So just look around your drawing and see if you have left any lines undone. Okay, I'm going to remove this. I don't need it. If you need it, if you think you're going to need it, then after you trace everything, just flip it up and fold it out of the way. Okay, but I've got everything on there I think I need, so I will set this aside and we're going to get ready to paint this in. Okay, I am using fabric paints, and I'm going to paint this one in teals and blues and whites and cream colors, silvers, those kind of colors. So and I'm going to be using brushes that are not my best brushes because fabric can be a little bit tough on your brushes. I am going to use good ones. They're just not going to be my best ones. Alright, I'm going to put out on my palette first some fabric medium. I'm going to apply a coat of this onto my ornaments. And then I'm going to paint them in with the fabric Metallic Aquamarine. Again, you can make your ornaments any color that you want: red, green, silver, purple, whatever is the color that you prefer, go for that color. Okay, so the fabric painting medium is going to go in first, and I'm applying it just to the ornaments. This is going to prepare the fabric, kind of like multi-purpose sealer does for wood. It's going to give us a better coverage and easier process of applying paint onto fabric. So let's put this in. And you can reduce this pattern and paint it on a bag. If you like to give a something hand painted, I like to paint up bags and give those because it's something that they can use later. Looks like I put out just enough for these 3 ornaments. Alright, so I'm not even going to worry about cleaning my brush. There wasn't really anything left in it. I'm going to go right into my metallic paint and start painting that on my fabric. I'm going to put a little bit more of the fabric medium on my palette because if the paint doesn't want to move very well, this is what I want to put on my brush instead of water. There are occasions when I do use water in my fabric painting, but for the most part I will use the fabric medium. This is a very, very pretty metallic color. It's perfect for my home. Now, another important tip that I must give you is when you are painting on fabric and you're going to pick up your fabric, always, always, always make sure that your hands are clean, because if you have paint on your hands anywhere, you're going to transfer it onto your fabric, and then really the only way you can get it off is to paint over it. Okay, oh, that's so pretty. I like that. Alright, let's move on to the next one. I really haven't decided what color I'm going to paint my candle in yet. I was thinking of a cream colored candle. Go well with this. My Christmas colors in my home are these kind of teal colors, white and silver. Those are my favorite colors. And this metallic is just gorgeous. I don't know how well you're seeing the shine from it. It is so pretty. So pretty. I'm using a 1/2 inch flat here. In this area here, it's a little bit smaller. You could go to a smaller brush. Let's do this one. I could paint one of these silver. I don't have a silver metallic. I have an obsidian, which is kind of dark. So I think I'm just going to keep these 3 ornaments all this teal color. So pretty. Now I can't remember how many colors DecoArt has in metallic paints for fabric. I'm sure it's quite a few, but I only have a few colors, so I'm thinking after painting this one I need to get and order some more metallic colors. Probably be very, very helpful. Try not to go out past your lines there. And when you're painting on fabric, you do have to cover up your lines. So just keep that in mind. You don't want to go past them, but you do want to cover them up. Like this one here, I didn't get covered up on the edge, so I'm going to scoot a little bit of that out there. It's okay if you get a little peek of it. We just don't want to see a lot of it. Okay, and then this one over here, I didn't quite get up to the line here, so touch that up and this edge a little bit. Okay, and that's just one coat of that metallic paint. Oh my gosh, you guys, it's so pretty, so pretty. I am loving it. Okay, I think I'm going to paint my candle in next. So I'm going to get a coat of fabric medium on my candle. Cover the area of this candle really well. Good amount. Now the fabric medium can thin down your paint and make it a little transparent, so just be aware of that, but I do want to make sure there's no dry patches on my fabric. Make sure the candle is all nice and moist. Okay. That looks good. Okay, so I think the color I'm going to paint it. Oh, I just stuck my hand in something sticky. I think I'm going to paint it with buttermilk. So put some buttermilk out. Might need a little more than that. Okay, let's put a coat of buttermilk on our candle. I kind of wanted my candle to be silver, so I don't know if I'm going to change this or not and make it a silver one. Right now I'm going to put buttermilk on here and see if I'm going to like it. Right now, not a huge fan, but then I kind of wanted my poinsettias to be a light blue, so I think I'll paint the candle in and let it set while I paint other areas and see if it's going to stay this color. Because at this very moment, I'm thinking it is not going to stay this color. I'm thinking I'm going to change it. let's go ahead and paint in some of our flower petals. So I've got a couple of colors here. I'm going to put them both out. We're also going to do one flower at a time so that we can mix and do stuff like that, and we can get our fabric medium on without our fabric medium drying. So I've got peacock teal and Indian turquoise. They do have those colors in Americana line as well. And I'm going to put some white out and some more fabric medium. And let's go ahead and start on one of these flowers. I think I will start on, well, I'll just go ahead and start on this one over here. So let me put some fabric medium on here. And I may just do a few petals at a time so that my fabric medium doesn't completely dry. I mean, it's okay if it does. I just prefer to work with it while it's still a little bit wet. Our leaves will be a different color. So my pattern, I'll have to make sure, this one is a leaf out here, I'll have to make sure that I am aware of what's leaves, because they'll be a different color. And I don't know if I'm going to need to add more leaves or not, because I just drew this and then put it on here and then added a few leaves onto it, so I may still need to add a couple more leaves onto it. I don't know. We'll see when it gets painted how it's going to look. But I'm thinking right now I do not like that color. So I might dry it with my heat tool real quick and then okay, so I'm going to just side load into my Indian turquoise and put some of this in here. I think I'll grab some white in with it and lighten that. Don't want it to be the same color as my ornaments. And just work that up to the edge. I have white and blue on one corner of my brush. I'm going to get a little bit more white, and nothing on the other corner. So I'm just kind of working this up to the tip. And it's got a little bit of variation in it. So white and blue. Oh, that's a lot of blue, so let me grab a little bit more white. That's a leaf out there. And we'll shade on these as well, but for now we're just getting some base color on. We'll be shading on our ornaments too. So Indian turquoise and white. I think I might make my candle white. I think that would be the best color for it. Okay. Oop, keep sticking my hand in my candle. So, gotta be careful. And we got this little petal out here, just a baby little petal. It's just a baby. And then one here. A little bit more of that Indian turquoise so it stands on top a little bit more. Okay. We're looking pretty good. I'm going to quickly dry this candle because I want to cover that up with white. Okay, I got it mostly dry with my tool, my heat tool. So I'm going to cover that with some white. And I know our fabric is close to white. It's not quite pure white, but we'll be adding some shading and stuff on this, so it will all work out. We'll still be able to tell it's a white candle. But I think white's going to look much better. I still may come in and change it to a gray color because that was my original thought. And I don't know if it's going to take a couple of coats or not to cover up this buttermilk color. It might. But this has a lot of paint on it now because I've applied 2 coats on it, 2 different colors. And underneath the buttermilk color was mostly dry, but not 100% dry. So I paint over my lines there a little bit. It might take a little longer for this to dry. But that's okay. We got lots of other areas to work on. Okay, I'm going to go back down here and put some more medium. Actually, I didn't do this one, so let me do it real quick. Alright, back into our fabric medium. Make sure you don't have any paint on your hands. Petal here, a little piece of a petal here. Okay, wipe my brush off. Load it up with some desert turquoise and tip into my white if I can. And we'll just brush blend as we paint. And get a little bit more white. Bit more turquoise for right in here. And because that fabric medium is on there, it's like it's wet with water, so you can just kind of keep going with that paint and work it up to the top there. Okay, we'll go to our next one. More white in there. Okay, and now a little bit more blue in these other 2. So I just went and picked up a little bit of the desert turquoise on my brush. Okay, so that one's base coated in, okay? I think for the next one, actually, I need to put some fabric medium on there first. I think for this one, I might actually do mostly white. Give it a little bit variation of color here. not as white as our candle. Okay, and this one is a petal. And make sure I'm putting fabric medium on just the petals. And when I get it done painted, I may have to come in and add a couple more. Petals in here, or leaves in here, I guess I should say. Is that one a leaf? No, I feel like that one should be a leaf. I might make that one a leaf. A little baby leaf. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put fabric medium on all the petals on this one. See how that works out. Now you can add pine needles and all that stuff in here. That would be fun. So I'm going to load my brush up with white and just a tiny bit of turquoise in there. I want this to be mostly white, and that's still not white enough. Let me get in some fresh white because that's got blue all in it. This one should just slightly be tinted with some blue. Missed the leaf there. I might make, or a petal. I might make that one a leaf as well. A little bit of fabric medium on my brush here. Just got a little bit of that blue tint to these. These are all just first layers. Let's see, we got one here. I want to make sure this one's more white. Okay, it's looking pretty good. Okay, that one looks pretty good. I think I'm gonna make that one and that one a leaf. Add just a couple more leaves in here. I didn't paint those two in. Alright, we're going to get some more fabric medium on the next one, and we're going to make it very close to this one, so we're going to use those two blues, the turquoise and peacock, and a little bit of white. I've gone ahead and painted that one in. Now, desert turquoise and white were the colors that I used. I think I said before I went off camera and painted this that I used the peacock teal, but I did not use any peacock teal in either one of these. It's all just desert turquoise and white, and that one's mostly white with a tiny bit of desert turquoise. Okay, so let's paint our leaves. And I want them to be a really light gray to start with, so we're going to put out some black. I've already gone and put my medium on them, and I'll grab some more white. White is the color we will probably use most in this project, so I want to make a little bit of a light gray to start with, and then we can darken as we go. A lot of black, so I'm going to have to add a lot of white in there. Really lighten that up to a light gray. I'm going to put some glazing medium out because when my paint is not flowing very well, I want to put that glazing medium on my brush. It's really going to help my paint move. With a little white. Okay, we really want these to be light gray, so now you can do a wet on wet technique, which I might do here with the leaves. Let me get these other two right here painted in. And then we may do a wet on wet and do a little bit of shading on them. Okay, let me get this one painted in here. You might want to go to a smaller brush in this area here. Okay, so all of these leaves right here are still pretty wet, so I'm just going to corner into some black and blend that on my brush to make a really dark gray. Grab a little bit of medium, and we'll use that to float our darker color in here. And this is wet into wet on fabric. Really love to paint my fabric this way. So we need a little bit more in there. It's blending too much with that lighter gray and taking the color down too much. Okay, let's go over here to this one, and I'm just corner loading a little bit of black and blending it in with the gray that's on my brush and a little bit of fabric medium. little bit dark right there. So I'm going to go into a little bit of white and lighten that up. Too hard of a line right there. Soften it down with a little bit of white. Okay. A little bit of fabric medium, a little bit of that darker gray. And we'll go in here. Again, you can get a smaller brush to work these smaller areas. Blend it. There we go. A little bit of fabric medium, some more of that dark gray, and we'll do this little leaf here. Blend that out just a little bit. It's a little dark, so we can do that while it's still wet. Okay, that looks pretty good for those leaves. They'll definitely need some highlights on them. So we're going to go up here and finish out some of our other leaves. I'm going to get a little bit of glazing medium in my brush. Or not glazing medium, fabric medium. And make these other leaves. I've already applied a base coat of the fabric medium before I started painting them. I did that off camera so we wouldn't take up so much camera time here. Corner load a little bit of black, blend, blend, blend. And we'll work this in. A little bit of fabric medium. Fabric medium is also going to give us more open time with our paint. That was a lot. Need a little bit sharper line over here. Got some on my blue there, so I'm going to remove that. And just laid my hand in that one. Okay, so all the leaves are going to be done the same way. We're going to do that light gray with white and a little bit of black. And base them in, and then wet on wet, a tiny little bit of black and blend it in. Grab a little bit of white here on this one edge of the brush so we can keep it a little bit lighter, especially out here on the tip of the leaf. Tiny bit of the darker gray. That's a little dark. Got some on my petal here, so I'm going to remove that and grab a little bit of the lighter gray. Not a ton of it, but a little bit of it, and blend that shadowy area out. So, fabric paints do not work the same as regular acrylic paints, especially when you're working wet on wet. So alright, so I've got, what, 1, 2, 3 more leaves that I'm going to do, so I'm going to finish those off of camera. Okay, I've got all my leaves done. I also did the light gray mix on my toppers and added a second coat of white onto my candle. I think I'll do a little bit more white and try and cover up the pencil line a little bit out here, the graphite line. I think I may take my heat tool and dry some of this a little bit so that we can start doing some shading onto this. Okay, it's looking pretty good so far. Okay, let's start some shading on our flowers. I've got out, what color did I put out? The peacock teal. I did go ahead and put out some Indian turquoise, some white for some highlighting, and then our fabric medium. So I'm going to load my brush with my fabric medium and side load a little bit of the peacock. And we'll see, make sure this isn't going to be too dark of a color. A little bit of shadow in here. Everything on mine is dry, so I let it dry completely. And if you don't have the medium, you can use water at this point since your initial paint is dry, but the fabric medium will keep the paint a little bit more pure paint, where it's not thinned down, you know, with water. So we're just going to go around all of our elements. Beautiful colors. Love it, love it, love it. Okay, we're going to go next to the ornament here. A little bit more paint and medium in my brush. Okay, and this one I have a little bit of, this one I have a lot of shading. It's going to be mostly shaded leaf. A little piece of leaf there. Do at the base of this one. And then we'll go up the center. A little center vein. I won't be able to see that one too well. We'll add some highlight on that in a minute. We're going to do the same color over here on this other flower. This is with Peacock Teal. Now I let my fabric painting dry, but you can work this wet into wet like we did for basing colors in. That's another leaf that's going to be pretty much all dark. Oops, and this one is shadowed on both edges because both those petals lay on top of it. Grab a little bit of medium so I can move that a little bit. Okay, put our center veins in these. I think we'll see this one because it's pretty dark. Or that one. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now on this one we're going to shade with that lighter blue, with the Indian turquoise. So, side load it. Bring a little bit of that color up into that. This will be another petal that's going to be pretty. End up being mostly dark. Around our little topper here. A little bit down at the center. Smoothed out just a little bit. Okay, we're looking pretty good here. Do this one. Bring some up into the petal. And then we'll do our veins. Okay, let me get a small brush here for a second. And add my stems here. I'm going to do a mix of the two blues here. Oh, forgot to shade on that one. Okay, create a vein in that one. Okay, that looks pretty good. We're going to shade on the leaves just a tiny bit more with some black. Just a little bit of black. I'm actually using water instead of the medium this time because I want to keep this black from getting too dark. And the water's going to let me thin it down a little bit and make it a little more transparent. But there is a transparent medium also for the fabric paints. I just did not grab that one. That one didn't get shaded. Oh no, that's the topper. Never mind. We'll work on the toppers in a minute. Okay. We're going to highlight everything, the leaves and the petals, with white. And so find your highlight edge, a little bit of medium. is a separate petal. So just find your highlight edge on all your petals. Maybe a little bit of a highlight on that one right there. Smooth that out just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to go over to this one. Try and cover up my pencil lines here. I haven't gone all the way out to the edge of this one yet. Trying to cover up my graphite line there. Got a little bit on this edge I need to try and cover up. Okay. I think we've gotten all of our edges here. We'll probably have to come back maybe and brighten those up. Some of them we're going to float beside our veins in a minute, but I want to put some on this one as well. They're all going to get the same white highlight. Okay, just keep going. Do all your petals. Okay, I can see over here this is already faded back down into the paint, so I'll probably have to do this step a second time. Okay, and then we're going to float down the center on the opposite side that we did the, get some medium in my brush so I can move this a little bit. Go along the opposite edge that you put the shading on. Side there. Okay, they'll go on all of them, all of your petals. That highlight right next to your center vein. And again, probably will need to repeat. Alright, I don't think I've missed any. So let's go out to our leaves. Couldn't even spit out what they were. And we'll put a little bit of white on them. And just going to try and keep this on the tips here. Paint too far over. Clean that off. And a little bit of the medium in my brush here. I feel like paint's getting way over on my brush tip. Okay, that shouldn't take too long. So now we're going to thin some black paint down and add our veins in here on our leaves. Using water to thin it. You can give all kinds of characteristics to your flowers and leaves, giving some turned edges. I decided to keep this one a little bit more on the easy side. Without adding a lot of those details in there. Now when it comes to poinsettia leaves, or poinsettia petals, the leaves and the petals generally look identical with the veins and everything in them, but I'm just going to keep these more simple. Brightening up a little highlight down the center with my detail liner. We're going to go on to our onto our leaves with a little bit of highlight. I'm going to take my white and black and make a light gray. Thin it down with some water. It's not going to be pure white. This might even be too dark still. Just a little bit of a highlight. I'm going beside the center vein and then down the center of our side ones. Not on the black, just right next to it, if at all possible. That looks really nice. Okay, I want to shade on the toppers, and I do have this metallic obsidian. I'm going to see if it's going to be dark enough. I'd like to keep the balls all metallic. So see if this is going to be dark enough. I'm going to go ahead and put some of my metallic out that we used on it, because I'm going to want to mix for my ball. So make sure I don't have any paint on my hands. Create the top edge up here. Then we'll go along one side of it and along the bottom edge, like that. Okay. Now I don't have any white metallic paint, so we're going to have to just highlight with white. And I'm going to come back and darken that shading. I think I'm going to have to add a little bit of my black in with my metallic here. And get it a little bit darker. And we'll let the white dry. I might be able to go ahead and put a second layer on this one. Ooh, that is a lot of paint. So we're just going along the opposite edge that we shaded a little bit, if there's an opening on the bottom to do fill in. Underneath the edge and maybe a little bit along the back there. Okay. Let's add a wire on there with some black. I had too much water in my black there. Still too much water. What's going on here? I really boogered that up. Okay. Since I got a lot of black paint on that one at the corner, I'm just going to make these match it a little bit. They look like a little bit thicker wire there. And we'll just take some white and highlight them if we can. Yeah, that's probably going to fade down in there. Okay, we need a shade on the balls. So I'm going to take the metallic paint that we basted in and some obsidian, because it's metallic as well. I might just take pure obsidian here. I didn't want it to become black. I do want it to stay metallic looking. So I'm just brush mixing the base color with a little bit of obsidian. Metallic, they're both metallic. Bring it up into the ornament a little bit. We'll go underneath the topper. Remember, you're mixing these two paints. Just a little bit under the topper. Wipe my brush out and remix these two colors. They're both pretty light. One and one mix. Under the topper. Oh, not on camera for that. Going under the topper. Okay, I hope you were on camera for that ball. Okay, got this one down here. A little bit of that blue, a little more blue, so I can blend it into that and not make it quite so dark. Wipe my brush out and just grab some blue here. Blend that down in there. A little wet on wet action there. Alright, a little obsidian, a little blue, and we'll go underneath and around the topper. My paints, because I keep knocking them over. Okay, that's looking pretty good for a shadow, I think. Okay, our highlight on our ornaments is just going to be white. So, white highlight on that edge. White highlight on this edge. I'll walk it in a little bit, have a little bit of medium or water on your brush. That's going to help keep it a little soft. And then this one I'll do here. And right here. Just a pity pat kind of thing. We'll do a little bit of reflective highlight down. Ooh, just stick my hand in that one. Down here. And over here. Maybe a little bit of bright highlight on this one right here. And definitely want this edge to be brighter. Okay, brighten up this one. Wipe my brush off, got a little bit too much paint right there. Brighten this area up. And then we need a little reflective light over here. And that's way too much, so I'm going to take that down. Go back in with some of our shadowy color here. A little bit more blue. Take that down just a little bit. I want that bright highlight. So you can come back with your detail liner when this gets dry and brighten up some of those areas. Alright, we're going to shade on the candle now. I think I'm going to shade on the candle with, because it's a white candle, I was thinking of shading with a light gray. So we've got this light gray mixed up right here, which is white and black. So let's see. I think I'll have to get a bigger brush here. A little bit of water in my brush. See if this will be dark enough. We might have to go into that little bit of darker gray mix there. Keep this soft and you know, a lighter color with either water or the medium. I have a little bit of water in my brush. A little bit of water. A little bit more down in here. Okay, I'm going to darken down in here once it's dry. Still have our centers of our flowers to do, but right now we're going to put the wick on here. It's It's looking pretty good. Okay, I think I'll dry that real quick. Okay, feels pretty dry, so I'm going to take that gray mix, add a little bit more black to it. I'm going to put a little bit in some of these darker areas. These V's that I'm always talking about, those are the darkest. They'll be the darkest shadow. And if you feel like you get it too dark, just dry it and go back over it with a lighter gray mix. I'll put a little bit along this edge, I think. I'll lock it in just a little bit. Okay, let's do our flame up there. And again, we're going to keep everything pretty much the same colors. So we're just going to go with some black and take some of this gray here. I want some fresh fabric. Medium here. And we're just going to create a little bit of a flame thing kind of going on there. I'm going to wipe off my brush and just load the medium. So I can just go in and create a soft little flame thing going on there. Not much to that flame at all. I'm not going to give it tons of detail, just keep it simple. Simple, simple, simple. Okay, we've got our dots to do in the center, and I might want to bling up my candle a little bit. I think I might take that dark value down just a little bit. Ooh, definitely need more white in that. Way too much. Way, way, way too much paint. Okay, I want it to be gray, but I want it to be softer. I was looking a little harsh there. That's looking much better. Okay, that's looking better. I think we might bling up our candle. I haven't decided yet. Okay, our dots in the center of our flower. Okay, I did that one. Not real happy with it, so try and do better on these two. So I'm going to use a big paintbrush. I tried it with the end of this pencil, but it was a little bit too big, bigger than what I wanted. So I'm going to try this, and I'm dipping into my peacock teal, and I want some bigger dots of this in here. wipe it off. Grab a little bit of black. We're going to put some sparkle on this. So put some black, a few black ones in here. You can go to a smaller brush to get some smaller dots in here. Okay, and then I'm going to wipe off and go into some white and add a few white ones in here. Wipe off when I pick up other colors on my brush because I want to try and keep it white. And I like that one much better. So we're going to do the same over here. Wipe off my brush. Now these blue ones won't stand on top very well. Let me find a palette knife. I'm going to take a little bit of black, mix it in with my teal, kind of darken that a little bit. And then I'll dip into that. There we go, that looks better. Put some of these in here. Wipe off. We'll get some black. And a few black ones in here. And put a couple of those teal ones, peacock teal, on top, because it will stand on that darker color a little bit. And then a couple of white ones. And we need this to get dry. So I just used the end of a paintbrush. That just in the end worked out better. We're going to get it dry, we're going to shade around it, and then we're going to put some sparkle on it. So while it's drying, let's put a little sparkle on our candle. We can make our candle glittery. So I'm going to use clear ice. It's a fabric glitter. Just going to brush this onto our candle and bling it up. It's a Christmas design. It must have bling. There's just no way around that. Actually, I think I'll use this color for the sparkle in the middle of the flowers because it's a clear and it won't add another color into the project. It'll just dry clear over top of what we've already got. That is so pretty. I love that. That is absolutely gorgeous on there. Oh my gosh. Love, love, love. So we got metallic down here. And our bling up there. I think I'm going to take my metallic and thin it down with some water. Create a little wash and do a little bit over my ornaments. Make sure that blue metallic stays on top. I'll stay out of the highlight area. So pretty. Oh, that's so pretty. Ah, I love it. Love, love, love it. Okay, let me get my centers dry. We'll add our glitter into our centers of our flower. We still need to shade around the centers, so I need to get them dry. Okay, they're mostly dry now in the centers. They're still a little bit wet, but I think I can shade around them. So I'm going to take this mix here that I made of the peacock and a little bit of black, and side load a damp brush which has water in it. It doesn't have the medium in it. And we're just going to go around our centers lightly, just in case some of it's still wet. We don't want to smear it. And we're doing this on the two darker ones. This one will get a different color. This one's almost completely dry because I did this one a little while. It had time to dry a little more. Okay, that gives a little depth there. Now for this one, I'm just going to wipe my brush out and grab just peacock teal. Work that into my brush. And we'll go around to this one. Might have to add just a little bit of that dirty peacock in there. The one that has a little bit of black in it. It's just a small amount here, not very much. We're just creating a little bit of depth here. And I'm using water instead of the glazing medium because it will help thin it down and keep it a little bit more transparent. Okay, I feel like this one still needs a little bit around it. Okay, that's looking much better. Okay, so now for our bling 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 on there, and I'm just going to take, well, I've got to get that a little bit drier. Okay, let's take our big paintbrush that we dotted with, and we're going to dot some. You can just let this dry and just, that's thick. Don't need it to be quite that thick. And paint the whole entire thing with sparkly. I'm just going to dab it all on here since my paint was not 100% dry. And sparkle up those centers. And you can add another layer on your candle if you want more bling 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 on there. Like I said, you can put this on your leaves, you can put it on the glass balls. Can't have too much bling, not on a Christmas one. And I love that DecoArt has a fabric glitter paint. So much fun. Okay, I want a little bit more of that come out a little bit more from the centers. Just using the end of a paintbrush, getting that on there. Okay. Alright, we've got to let that get dry. Okay, so I have this stencil that I created a couple of years ago, and I think I'm going to use it on here to add some words. So I just took my tape off of the back, moved my cardboard up to the top, and I'm going to tape down my stencil. Hopefully the words will be straight and fairly centered at the top of this stencil. Hold it up so I can see if it's looking straight with the candle. And we'll tape on each side because we don't want to go out past our edge. And then we'll need a piece to go across the top. So I'll put a piece across the top here. Maybe, if I can get my tape to tear. And then this will help keep us from going outside of the lines of our stencil. Okay, I'm going to use a makeup sponge to stencil with. I'm going to put 'Tis the Season and 'Tis the Season 2 and then Sparkle down below it. So sticking with my fabric paints here, I'm going to grab my Peacock Teal and use my makeup sponge and tap, tap, tap. We're going to do a straight up and down tapping. These are pretty narrow letters, so it will take me a couple of, probably 3 times going over these letters to get them coated with paint because we are not using fabric medium here. I could put a little bit out and put just a very small amount on your sponge because it will thin the paint just a little bit and we don't want it bleeding underneath our stencil. I think I prefer the straight paint. It's a little bit thicker and I feel like I can control it on the sponge a little more. So this will take probably 3 layers on here. Don't get too carried away and get too much paint at first because these are very, very thin letters. You can hand paint these on as well. You can leave it without any words. Totally up to you. So see why we tape off on our edges? Plenty of room to do that. Okay, so I want to let that dry and then I'm going to apply 2 more coats on there. Okay, I'm just finishing up my second layer here and really the second layer looks pretty good. I'm going to go back any places that I'm seeing a little bit of the fabric and just lightly tap on those areas. But I think the 2 coats has got it pretty good. So I'm going to make sure I have no paint on my fingers because I'm going to lift the tape and I have to touch the fabric, so I want to make sure there's nothing on my hands. And that did very good. I like that. So I need to get that to dry first, and then we'll put our sparkle word down here. While it's drying though, I want to close up my bridges. And make these a solid letter. Okay. That looks pretty good. I was thinking about doing a drop shadow around that, but I don't think I will. But when we do the word sparkle, we may do a drop shadow around that one. We'll see. Okay, that's mostly dry up there. So we're going to see where we want to put the word sparkle. I want it kind of to be off to the side over here. there. I'm going to tape it right there. Now I have to tape off these stars so I don't get in them, this tree and this ornament, and then our edges, so that we don't get any outside the edges. Okay, so I'm just going to use some small pieces of tape and tape a few things out of the way. Definitely want that whole ornament right there covered, but not the end of that. This will also help stick it down a little bit, hold it in place. We get this Christmas tree, and then we'll do our edges. And these are pretty good sized letters, so we have to do this edge, and this edge. Okay, I'm all taped down. Now, when you're moving your stencil and retaping, you want to make sure you don't have any bleed under back here. If you do, lay a piece of paper underneath this part of the stencil so that it doesn't get, if your stencil is still damp, that it doesn't get any paint up there where you don't want it. Okay, so I'm going to put some fresh peacock teal out. And we're going with the same technique, the sponge. I'll do one coat on camera, then I'll go off camera and do a second coat. Very gentle, light tapping. Do not push it or mush it or scrub it or anything like that. We're just doing a easy, light tapping, holding the stencil so it doesn't bounce. This is a large stencil, so it's going to bounce a little bit. This was one I did a couple years ago, but I see a couple places I need to go in and add some bridges to, so I will be adjusting that. So the cut. Now I'm not sure I want it to go over the top of the candle there onto the edge of the candle. I think I'm going to go ahead and have it go over it. I think that will look nice. If you don't want it to go over your candle, you can stop it right at the edge of the candle, but I think I'll take it over. Okay, that's one coat on there. Pretty rough and not a lot of coverage, but I think the second one, when we come on there with the second one, is going to do well. So we'll see if this one takes 2 or 3 coats. Okay, I've just finished up my second coat down here. A couple places where I can still see some of the fabric peeking through, so I'm just going to lightly tap over those areas, holding my stencil down where I need to. Using small amounts of paint. This stencil was a little bouncy, so I may have paint underneath it this time. We shall see. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Again, I'm going to clean off my fingers. Get all the paint off, because I had to hold my stencil down, so I got a lot of paint on my fingers. And I don't want to transfer that anywhere. Now, if you're wondering why I don't use a stencil brush, I have occasionally used a stencil brush on fabric, but I find with a makeup sponge I can put much lighter layers on and get a little bit more control of the paint and where it goes if I use a makeup sponge. Alright, so let's go in and close some of these bridges. Just using a small round, closing them up. Okay, any place you see you might need a little bit more paint, go ahead and put it on there. And your bridge areas may need a second coat because, you know, you have a second coat everywhere else, so they might need a quick little second layer on there. And I love it. It looks fabulous. I think the stenciling made this one shine. I mean, it was already shining because of the glitter, which you can see on there. Look at that glitter, bling, 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 and the metallic on here is really shiny. It's so pliable and soft. I love it. Oh yes, this is going to be one of my all-time favorite Christmas pillow covers. Yeah, absolutely my favorite. So I've really enjoyed painting this one with you guys. I hope that you have loved painting it as well. Grab your fabric paints if you haven't. You can use regular acrylic paints. Just get some fabric medium and mix it in there and still do your base coat before you start. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this one. You can paint this on a regular surface as well. It doesn't have to be on fabric, so have fun with it, you guys. Please give me a like, please comment, please share, and please subscribe. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.